No saldré contigo y no volveré a acostarme contigo. Eres mi jefe.
El jefe de tu jefa.
Derek and Meredith had a one-night stand, but could it lead to something more? Stay tuned to find out if this fiery exchange ends up on a date or in complete disaster as you learn how to navigate romantic situations in Spanish like a pro. Comencemos.
Seattle tiene transbordadores.
Sí.
No lo sabía. Llevo aquí 6 semanas y no sabía que los hubiera.
Seattle está rodeada de agua por 3 lados.
Ahora comprendo. Tendrá que gustarme la ciudad. No había planeado que me gustara. Soy de Nueva York. Estoy condicionado a que me disguste todo, excepto Manhattan. Ya me agradan los transbordadores.
No voy a salir contigo.
¿Te pedí que salieras conmigo? ¿Quieres salir conmigo?
No saldré contigo y no volveré a acostarme contigo. Eres mi jefe.
El jefe de tu jefa. Seattle tiene transbordadores.
Sí.
Seattle tiene transbordadores. Seattle tiene transbordadores. Tiene transbordadores means has ferries. Tiene is a form of the verb tener, which means to have. In Spanish, when you say a place tiene something, it means that thing can be found there. For example, Nueva York tiene muchos rascacielos. Transbordadores is the plural of the noun transbordador, which can mean either ferry or shuttle. Since they're talking about Seattle, a city surrounded by water, it's clear that Derek means ferries.
Seattle tiene transbordadores.
Sí.
No lo sabía. Llevo aquí 6 semanas y no sabía que los hubiera.
No lo sabía. Llevo aquí 6 semanas y no sabía que los hubiera. No lo sabía. Llevo aquí 6 semanas y no sabía que los hubiera. Llevo aquí here means I've been here. Llevo is a form of the verb llevar, which literally means to carry or to take. But when speaking figuratively, it alludes to the duration of time spent somewhere. For example, llevo esperando en la cola 1 hora. A synonym of llevo when talking about spending time somewhere is he estado, also meaning I have been. So you could say, he estado esperando en la cola 1 hora. Aquí means here, in this case referring to the city of Seattle. So, when saying llevo aquí 6 semanas, Derek is referring to how long he's been in Seattle for.
No lo sabía. Llevo aquí 6 semanas y no sabía que los hubiera.
Seattle está rodeada de agua por 3 lados.
Seattle está rodeada de agua por 3 lados. Seattle está rodeada de agua por 3 lados. Está rodeada de means is surrounded by. Está here means is. Está is a form of the verb estar, which means to be. In this case, we use the verb estar instead of ser because we're talking about being somewhere. An example of estar used to express location might be Seattle está en Estados Unidos. While you might use ser like this, soy de Seattle. Rodeada is a female adjective that means surrounded. This adjective is always followed by de. For example, está rodeada de amigos. In this scene, rodeada is in the female form because it refers to the city of Seattle, and the word city, ciudad, is feminine in Spanish. So, when you talk about any city in Spanish, you must refer to it in the female form. For example, Madrid es preciosa.
Seattle está rodeada de agua por 3 lados.
Ahora comprendo. Tendrá que gustarme la ciudad.
Ahora comprendo. Tendrá que gustarme la ciudad. Ahora comprendo. ¿Tendrá que gustarme la ciudad? Ahora comprendo here means I get it now. Ahora means now. Comprendo is a form of the verb comprender, which means to understand or to get. Spanish speakers use ahora comprendo as an exclamation when they've suddenly or finally understood something. For example, ahora comprendo. Lo estaba haciendo mal. If you want to shake things up and add some variety to your conversational Spanish, here are some other ways to express that you get it now. Ya lo entiendo. Or, ahora caigo.
Ahora comprendo. Tendrá que gustarme la ciudad. No había planeado que me gustara.
No había planeado que me gustara. No había planeado que me gustara. No había planeado que means I had not planned on. No becomes the negative not. Había means had. Había is a form of the verb haber, which means to have. Planeado means planned. Planeado is a form of the verb planear, which means to plan. Que is typically used as a conjunction similar to that in English. But here, que translates to on, since planear que is a fixed expression that always means to plan on. Another example would be, no había planeado que eso sucediese.
No había planeado que me gustara. Soy de Nueva York. Estoy condicionado a que me disguste todo, excepto Manhattan.
Soy de Nueva York. Estoy condicionado a que me disguste todo, excepto Manhattan. Soy de Nueva York. Estoy condicionado a que me disguste todo, excepto Manhattan. Estoy condicionado a que here means I'm conditioned to. Estoy means I am. Estoy is the present form of the verb estar, to be. Condicionado means conditioned. It comes from the verb condicionar, which means to condition. A que here means to. Estar condicionado a que is a fixed expression that always means to be conditioned to. For example, estoy condicionada a que me encante el chocolate. Another expression you can use with the same meaning is estar programado para. For example, estoy programado para ganar. Here, Derek is playfully suggesting that he has a typical New York attitude. In other words, he's skeptical of everywhere that's not his hometown. But something has made him suddenly like Seattle. Can you guess what?
Soy de Nueva York. Estoy condicionado a que me disguste todo, excepto Manhattan. Ya me agradan los transbordadores.
Ya me agradan los transbordadores. Ya me agradan los transbordadores. Ya me agradan here means now I like. Ya means already or now. Another very common and colloquial use of ya is to express exasperation at the other speaker, normally because you already know what they're going to say, in which case ya can translate to yeah or I know. For example, ya me lo ha dicho mamá. Me agradan means I like. Agradan is a form of the verb agradar, which means to please. Agradan is conjugated in the third person singular, referring to los transbordadores. So it has an N at the end to imply that what Derek likes is a plural thing. If Derek said agrada, he would be talking about something singular. For example, me agrada el chocolate.
Ya me agradan los transbordadores.
No voy a salir contigo.
No voy a salir contigo. No voy a salir contigo. No voy a salir means I'm not going out. No translates to the negative not in this sentence. Voy is the present tense form of the verb ir, which means to go. A is a preposition that means to in this case. Salir literally means to leave or to exit. For example, salgo del trabajo a las 5. However, it's pretty clear that Meredith isn't actually talking about literally exiting the elevator with Derek. This is because salir, like many other verbs, has many meanings, literal or figurative, depending on the context in which it is used. The best way to get the hang of the full meaning of a verb is to hear it being used. So let's watch some examples.
Puedes aceptar salir con él si quieres.
If we click on salir on these interactive subtitles, we'll see that in this context, the salir means to go out or to date, which is exactly what Meredith means when she says,
No voy a salir contigo.
Let's hear it being used by another friend so the meaning sticks in your head.
Y Chandler, ¿cuántas veces voy a tener que tocarte el brazo para que me invites a salir?
If you're wondering about this handy tool, it's FluentU, an app for learning Spanish with authentic videos, including movie scenes, clips from TV shows, TED Talks, and music videos. FluentU has thousands of videos, all of which have subtitles written by language experts, plus video examples of native speakers using the vocab. FluentU also creates personalized quizzes and speaking questions to make sure you remember everything you learn. Try it now for free. Just sign up for a 2-week trial using the link in the description below. Plus, FluentU is currently having a sale, so it's a perfect time to check it out.
No voy a salir contigo.
¿Te pedí que salieras conmigo? ¿Quieres salir conmigo?
Te pedí que salieras conmigo. ¿Quieres salir conmigo? Te pedí que salieras conmigo. ¿Quieres salir conmigo? Te pedí que means I asked you to, or when starting a question, did I ask you to? Te indicates that the question is addressed to the informal tú. This makes sense because Derek and Meredith developed a relationship before knowing he was her boss. Pedí is a past form of the verb pedir, which means to ask. Que, in this case, means to, since the expression pedir que always translates to ask to. Another example of pedir que is voy a pedir que me sigan en Instagram.
¿Te pedí que salieras conmigo? ¿Quieres salir conmigo?
No saldré contigo y no volveré a acostarme contigo. Eres mi jefe.
No saldré contigo y no volveré a acostarme contigo. Eres mi jefe. No saldré contigo y no volveré a acostarme contigo. Eres mi jefe. No volveré a acostarme contigo here means I won't sleep with you again. No turns into the negative not in English. Volveré comes from the verb volver, which means to return or to go back. It's used to express doing something again. A in this case would mean to. So, no volveré a literally translates to I'm not going back to. We use no volveré a when talking about an action you don't plan on doing again. For example, no volveré a comer tanto. The again is always implied in the expression volver a in Spanish. Even if in English it has to be explicitly stated. Acostarme is a reflexive verb which literally means to lie down or to go to bed. But in romantic context, it implies sleeping with someone. Acostarme comes from the verb acostar, which means to put to bed. Contigo is a combination of con and tú. So contigo means with you. Oye tú, sí tú, tengo un PDF gratis para ti. It gives you easy access to all the vocab that we have learned today, so you can study it whenever. Get it by clicking on the link in the description below.
No saldré contigo y no volveré a acostarme contigo. Eres mi jefe.
El jefe de tu jefa.
El jefe de tu jefa. El jefe de tu jefa. El jefe de tu jefa means your boss's boss. Jefe is the masculine form of boss, while jefa is the feminine. De means of. De is used to express affiliation and is often translated as of. For example, soy madre de tres. However, de can also sometimes be omitted in English. For example, es de buena calidad. However, when de is followed by a possessive adjective, like tú in this case, it can also express affiliation or possession, which in this case is expressed with apostrophe s in English. For example, el padre de tu marido, or el coche de tu amiga. The whole phrase, el jefe de tu jefa, literally means the boss of your boss, which simplified would be your boss's boss.
El jefe de tu jefa.
Eres mi maestro y maestro de mi maestra. Y eres mi maestro.
Eres mi maestro y maestro de mi maestra. Y eres mi maestro. Eres mi maestro y maestro de mi maestra. Y eres mi maestro. Maestro here means mentor. Maestro, as a general term, refers to someone who is a master of their craft, so it could translate to master. For example, el maestro de ceremonias. When talking about schools, the term maestro simply refers to a teacher. For example, mi maestro favorito de primero. In this case, Derek is both a master in his field and a sort of teacher to the medical residents, which makes him a mentor. The word mentor also exists in Spanish. However, it's mostly used to refer to a spiritual guide or someone who has helped guide your career. For example, mi mentor me ayudó a elegir mi camino.
Eres mi maestro y maestro de mi maestra. Y eres mi
Soy
maestro.
tu hermana, soy tu hija.
Soy tu hermana. Soy tu hija. Soy tu hermana. Soy tu hija. Soy tu hermana here means I'm your sister. Soy is the present tense of the verb ser, which means to be. It's conjugated in the first person singular, yo. The word soy in Spanish has nothing to do with the English word soy, as in soy sauce. The English word soy translates to soja in Spanish. Tu means your, since it doesn't have an accent, in which case it would mean you. Hermana means sister. This may seem like a random line, but it's actually a reference to the 1974 movie Chinatown, making fun of Meredith for saying "you're my mentor, you're my mentor's mentor," giving him new titles that he doesn't consider to be of importance in their relationship.
Tu hermana, soy tu hija.
Me acosas sexualmente.
Me acosas sexualmente. Me acosas sexualmente. Me acosas sexualmente means you're sexually harassing me. Me means me. Acosas comes from the verb acosar, which means to harass. Acosar is a verb that can be used to describe various types of harassment, such as bullying or stalking. However, in this scene, due to the active that follows this verb, sexualmente, it means to harass. Sexualmente means sexually. Sexualmente is an adverb, and we know this because it ends in the suffix mente, the Spanish equivalent to li. For example, inmediatamente, tristemente, or sinceramente. Keep in mind that both Derek and Meredith are smiling in this scene, so Meredith intends this as banter to get Derek to stop playing with her emotions, and is not actually saying Derek is sexually harassing her.
Me acosas sexualmente.
Nada más estoy en el ascensor.
Nada más estoy en el ascensor. Nada más estoy en el ascensor. Nada más is a fixed expression that can mean nothing more or nothing else. However, since nada más is being used to emphasize that nothing is happening besides the action mentioned, nada más could also translate to just. So you could use nada más to say both things, like quiero ayudar, nada más, and nada más quiero ayudar. Ascensor means elevator. The word ascensor comes from the verb ascender, which literally means to ascend or to go up. Keep in mind that while ascensor is a commonly used word for elevator, the word elevador is also widely used in many Spanish-speaking regions. Nada más les estoy pidiendo que se suscriban al canal. If you're enjoying this video, please subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos, like Learn Spanish with Friends. Monica dates Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Nada más estoy en el ascensor.
Escucha, pondré una línea. La línea está trazada. Es una enorme línea.
Escucha, pondré una línea. La línea está trazada. Es una enorme línea. Escucha, pondré una línea. La línea está trazada. Es una enorme línea. Escucha means listen. Escucha comes from the verb escuchar, which means to listen. Escucha is very frequently used as an interjection to get someone's attention because you want to tell them something. For example, escucha, me tengo que ir. Some other Spanish words that you can use to get someone's attention are oye, which comes from the verb oír, to hear. For example, oye, ¿qué has dicho? But if you're talking formally using usted, you would say oiga. For example, oiga, ¿me puede ayudar un momento, por favor?
Escucha, pondré una línea. La línea está trazada. Es una enorme línea.
¿Y esta línea es imaginaria o necesito darte un marcador?
¿Y esta línea es imaginaria o necesito darte un marcador? ¿Y esta línea ¿Es imaginaria o necesito darte un marcador? Necesito here means do I need. Necesito comes from the verb necesitar, which means to need. Typically, if used within a question, the use of necesito implies some sort of irony. For example, ¿quieres hacerlo o necesito hacerlo yo todo? Another expression you can use if you want to ask if you need to do something is ¿es necesario que? This expression can also convey irony. For example, ¿es necesario que me sigas a todas partes?
¿Y esta línea es imaginaria o necesito darte un marcador? ¿Hablamos luego?
Hablamos luego. Hablamos luego. Hablamos luego here means we'll talk later. Hablamos is a form of the verb hablar, which means to talk. In this case, it's being used as a way to refer to a possible future action. We'll talk. Luego means then or after, like in this case. When expressed in the affirmative, the phrase hablamos luego means let's talk later. It's used when we want to continue a conversation but can't at the present moment. However, when it's in a question, hablamos luego, it's often used as a short interjection because you know you don't currently have time to talk. Now let's watch the whole clip without subtitles so you can see how much you've learned.
Seattle tiene transbordadores.
¿Sí?
No lo sabía. Llevo aquí 6 semanas y no sabía que los hubiera.
Seattle está rodeada de agua por 3 lados.
Ahora comprendo. Tendrá que gustarme la ciudad. No había planeado que me gustara. Soy de Nueva York. Estoy condicionado a que me disguste todo, excepto Manhattan. Ya me agradan los transbordadores.
No voy a salir contigo.
¿Te pedí que salieras conmigo? ¿Quieres salir conmigo?
No saldré contigo. Y no volveré a acostarme contigo. Eres mi jefe.
El jefe de tu jefa.
Eres mi maestro. Y maestro de mi maestra. Y eres mi
Soy
maestro.
tu hermana, soy tu hija.
Me acosas sexualmente.
Nada más estoy en el ascensor.
Escucha, pondré una línea. La línea está trazada. Es una enorme línea.
¿Y esta línea es imaginaria o necesito darte un marcador? ¿Hablamos luego?
In this next video, we get to experience Rose and Jack's explosive chemistry. So go watch that clip from Titanic to enjoy another of the most iconic couples in film and television as you learn more romantic Spanish.